Greetings, duelist, and welcome to another video. Konami did it again. Another fan favorite archetype from the Dual Terminal series has been shown more cards, and this time we're talking about Shaddolls. As you can see here on the screen, this is my binder with a bunch of Shaddolls cards. Yeah, Shaddolls is a fan favorite archetype that I also have. That is part of the series, and new cards got revealed for them. Before we talk about the new cards, let's talk about the history behind Shaddolls, like as an archetype, and like the power behind this deck and how it solidified the format. So, for those unaware, Shaddolls is a fusion-centric archetype that got introduced in Duelist Alliance in 2014. And very, very similar to how Justice Hunters shaped the format like in 2025. Duelist Alliance like literally shaped the format off the top of its head, and Shaddolls were the main culprit. To this day, we still have a bunch of very strong monsters in the theme, even though the archetype in itself has been power crept. Winda just being able to lock out your opponent from special summoning, both players rather. Construct being a very strong going second tool, just for tutoring out like a bunch of cards that just is useful for like pop funneling against your opponent's interruptions. Shekinaga and Grista just being able to foothold against your opponent's like common cards with like summon interruptions. Anoitilis being a floodgate against like certain strategies. Yeah, this deck was a menace. Now, after 2015, this archetype got gutted, and after it got gutted, it kind of didn't see the light of day. However, after a couple years, we just kept indirectly getting support that just supported Shaddolls. One very notable one is Dogmatica. Like Dogmatica / Branded is one that actually helped Shaddolls a lot, enough to the point that it even made Top Cut, like with the invoked strategy as well as the tier limit strategy. You see the tier limit monsters there on the screen. That was another archetype that got paired well with Shaddolls. And then, as of recent, we got Mimigal support that actually also was indirect support for Shaddolls. And now, fast forward to today, we even see Shaddoll variants of Draco Tail. If you haven't seen that, it is in this channel. You can find a few of those videos. I will post one of the profiles in the description. So, what did Terminal World give Shaddolls now in order to fix some of their problems? Before we talk about like the new cards, another thing we have to talk about is the card quality behind some of these Shaddoll cards. Shaddoll Fusion is to this day one of the best fusion spells. Every fusion spell that was made after Shaddoll Fusion was made with a design concept very similar to Shaddoll Fusion. We're talking about Branded Fusion, Rahu Draco Tail, the Infernoid spell, K2 Draco Tail. Cards like those, like Konami has to be very careful with the design of fusion spells because we either are getting fusion centric archetypes that just don't use fusion spells themselves too much, like tier elements, or we're getting fusion spells that are at the level of Shaddoll fusion. Shaddoll fusion to this day is still a very strong board breaker. Like, I piloted the Shaddoll Draco Tail deck, and I've won numerous games just by using Shaddoll fusion, sending Orgula and Shaddoll Dragon in order to summon Grista. However, we do have very poor quality cards, like Purge Shaddoll Aeon, Shaddoll Core, and Nef Shaddoll Fusion are just very mediocre spell and traps. To this day, El Shaddoll Wendigo is the weakest Shaddoll monster, which means just playing wind attribute Shaddoll monsters is just, or like wind centric archetypes to mix them with Shaddoll monsters is just not worth it. The best one is Wendy. And whenever we use Wendy, we just use it to summon Apkalone or another one of these Shaddolls and not Wendigo. Anoritilis is not a bad one. I think whatever for what Anoritilis does is still like good as a card. However, like there's not that many archetypes that just summon from the graveyard or their hand using spell cards. This is, funnily enough, strong against Yumi, and it is actually good against Mitsurugi. But outside of like very niche scenarios behind like those decks, it's not that good across the board. Now, let's start talking about the new cards. The first one we're gonna talk about is called Richadol Wendikulu. So, Wendikulu is a level 6 psychic wind fusion monster with 200 attack, 2800 defense. Sounds familiar? Because it is. Must first be fusion summoned. Quick effect, you can change any face down monsters on the field to face up defense position. Then you can change a number of face up monsters to face down defense position up to the number of flip monsters that were just flipped face up. You can use this effect of Richadol Wendikulu once per turn. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target one Shaddol card in your graveyard, add it to your hand. So, very straightforward. This card is meant to be summoned with Red Shaddol Wendy, because after you summon Wendikulu, the Wendy is gonna set a Shaddol straight from your deck. It's gonna be one of these monsters. And whichever Shaddol you care about their flip effect the most is the one you're going to set with Wendy, because with the second Wendy, you're going to flip those monsters and just book your opponent's monsters. The card quality behind this card is not bad. Like, it does not target the in order to flip. So if you're facing against protected or like targeting protected monsters or like destruction protected monsters, you can just set those with Wendikulu. Also, Wendikulu is really cool in the sense that, like, no matter if you know what strategy you're facing, you can just set the right Shaddol and like just counter against those strategy outright. Like, let's say you are facing against a graveyard centered strategy, then you can just set Hollow and use Hollow's effect to banish, like by sending a Shaddol monster for your extra deck. If you are on your own turn and you want to like just keep up with card economy, you can set Shaddol Beast and flip Shaddol Beast with Wendikulu and just draw 2 cards. Yeah, the flexibility behind Wendikulu is actually really good. Not a bad card at all for the theme. Let's talk about the next one. The next one is called El Shaddoll Meshafrel. So this is a level 10 machine fusion monster. Very similar to Shekinaga. The materials are 1 Shadow monster, 1 Dark monster, and 1 Earth monster. This card can only be special summoned by fusions summoning. This card on the field is unaffected by spell and trap activated by your opponent, and it is also unaffected by the effects activated by your opponent's monsters whose original level / rank is lower than this card's level. Once returned, you can pay 800 life points to add a Shaddolls card or void spell or trap from your deck to your hand. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 Shaddolls monster from your graveyard. You're probably wondering, what is up with this first effect? This is the effect that the Cliffords have. So this card is meant to be used with the Clifford Genius. And it's pretty cool, the dynamic, because by using Genius to freeze your opponent's monsters, your opponent has very little things that they can do against this card. It is also note mentioning that this card can just keep tutoring all of your Shaddolls cards, and there's very little your opponent can do about it. Like, just being unaffected by almost everything is already really strong. And running over this monster is not that easy at all. Like, this does have 2800 attack, which doesn't seem that high. But let's imagine if you pair this with something like Pure Shaddolls Aeon. Like, all of a sudden you have a 3800 monster you cannot get rid of. You can also summon this with Shaddolls Schism, which makes it very easy to summon. You can use Shaddolls Core to just copy it. Sadly, this can only be fusion summoned, so you cannot just keep bringing it back with reincarnation. They were very smart on the design concept behind that, because the last thing you need is dealing with a Shaddolls monster that is pretty much a towers and just can keep coming back every turn. So very heads up on Konami's part by giving it that restriction. Another alright card. Like, I have really nothing bad to say about Meshafrel. The materials for it are kind of steep. You do require a lot for it. It's not like Wendikulu. Wendikulu is actually a lot easier to summon as opposed to Meshafrel. But like, in all fairness, you can just do Wendikulu to set Hedgehog, Wendikulu to flip Hedgehog, Hedgehog to just add a Shaddolls fusion, and all of a sudden you already have 2 materials for Meshafrel. So all you're missing is like the Earth monster. If you're already playing a deck like Draco Tail, then like it's perfectly fine, because you already have Lucius and Arthalion that are Earth monsters. Just to give you a few examples. Let's go to the next one. Shaddolls Egoista, which, if you pronounce it very, very funnily enough, it is Shaddolls Grista. It even has the same stats, attribute, and level. The only thing it doesn't share is the attribute. Let's read it real quick. Flip effect. If this card's flipped, you can target a non-rock type Shaddolls monster in your graveyard apply that effect when that monster is flipped face up. So essentially, this becomes any of these Shaddolls when they're flipped. The best one out of them would be Hedgehog and Beast. Like this tutors a Spell or Trap, and this just draws you 2 cards. So if you do get to summon Egoista, like that is just more card economy. Like this is another monster you can set with Wendikulu, and if Wendikulu, when I say someone with Wendikulu, I mean by the context of using Shadow Wendy. So if you use Wendy to summon Egoista, and you use Wendikulu to flip Egoista, you can use Egoista to copy the same Wendy and just like summon another one from the deck, or use whatever other material and just keep going. And take note, this is an Earth attribute monster, so this could be the material for Mechafrel. Let's read the other effect. If this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can activate this effect. During the turn you activate this effect, you can only special summon Shaddoll monsters from your extra deck. You can banish monsters from your hand, field, or graveyard as fusion materials to fusion summon one Shaddoll fusion monster. So it's very clear what they want you to do with this card. Let's say, for example, you send this off Construct, or you send this off of Squamata. All of a sudden, you have another fusion summon immediately into another Shaddol. This is really strong. This already makes Squamata into a way stronger monster. Because let's say, for example, you're playing, you're using 5 mana, and you use 5 mana to fuse for Winda, and you use like Shekinaga. Well, not Shekinaga, Squamata. All of a sudden, this Squamata can send the Egoista, and you can fuse with the Egoista into any of these. And that's already really strong. Like, again, Wendigo is the weakest Shaddol, but imagine you have a Meshafrel and you just protect this Meshafrel from being destroyed by battle. Like, all of a sudden, Shaddol just becomes very, very annoying for your opponent to deal with. You can use the Meshafrel to just add any of these. Like Shadow Fusion also becomes a way stronger card because of this. Because of Egoista, you can summon multiple Windas. Summoning Winda on your opponent's turn was already strong, but there are very common counters to Winda at the moment. So just having a second Wind, no pun intended, to summon a second Winda is really strong in itself. So yeah, I think this new support is looking very, very strong. We have one more card to talk about. Let's talk about Void Deviation. If you took note out of Meshafrel's effect, Meshafrel can add you a Shaddol or Void spell. And the reason it has Void in the name, a Void spell, is because this can tutor Clifford cards, Infernoid cards, but it can also tutor this card. Now let's read this effect. You can use both effects on the turn. First effect, you can activate this effect by revealing one Shaddol card in your hand to your opponent. Add 2 Shaddol cards from your deck to your hand. There are a different type, monster, spell, or trap. Then the revealed card. You can only have one of the same card type. Then discard one card to your hand, from your hand. You can activate this effect by banishing this card from the graveyard. Add an Inferno monster from your deck to your or graveyard to your hand. This card's fantastic. The first thing this card does for us is this tutors any 2 Shaddolls cards that you need. The reason it has Void in the name is very clear. They made it on purpose so you don't get it doesn't conflict with getting other Shaddolls spells. The other thing about this card is I don't know how relevant this is for Infernoids. However, just being able to tutor up to 3 different cards like on this only card itself is already really strong. As of late, we've been getting a lot of clones of cards that just adds 2 and then discards 1. We've been getting them for a bunch of different archetypes, and arguably Shaddoll is the best archetype out of every archetype you could give a card like this. In order to activate it, you do have to reveal one. I think the reveal condition is not too steep. You already are playing Shaddoll traps in your Shaddoll deck. If you're playing a Shaddoll hybrid, like Shaddolls Schism is one example of this. That's another thing I like about Void Deviation. I've played Shaddoll variants or Shaddoll techs in the past, like be it Invoke Dogmatica to Draco Tail to Branded to Dogmatica Shaddolls. And one issue that I've been finding myself is just opening like the trap card. Like a Shadow Schism does literally nothing by itself. So now if you open Schism, you can use Void Deviation and use Void Deviation to add like one of these Shadow monsters as well as one of these Shadow spells. And that's already really good. But yeah, I think that's it. There's only 4 cards revealed. The terminal sets are known for showing 5 cards of support. That means we're missing 1 more support card for Shaddolls. Let me know in the comments which one do you think it will be. Will it be like a retrain of Construct? Will it be like a retrain of Winda? Will it be like another Shaddoll spell card? Because this is not a Shaddoll spell. Yeah, I really like this support. I don't know if this is going to be enough to catapult Shaddolls to tier 1 contention. However, we have a lot of already indirect support already that just benefits Shaddoll. Like another example is like the Dogmatica Chaplain. We haven't talked about this card in this channel, but this card is indirect Shaddoll support. So yeah. Until next time, keep practicing and keep dueling.